We are on the Nürburgring this weekend. The weather is like it should be. It's cold and rainy, and this is typically for the Eifel. And you actually turn off the motorway coming from Frankfurt or Cologne and going into the woods, and you get the first feeling of this awesome track. Obviously, it all started with the old track that is more than 20 kilometers long and is until today, for me personally, the ultimate racing track. And I'm standing in front of Nicky's garage, which is always quite emotional for me because he was one of my closest friends whilst working in Formula One, and obviously he's dearly missed. Nicky was one of the first ones to really go fast around the Nürburgring, and he held the record for many years in a 6:59 and had a terrible accident in a Ferrari that burned him severely and caused some long-lasting damages, but he fought through. A few weeks later he was back in the racing car, and taking his helmet off, he was actually bleeding. And the only way of making it heal faster, his physiotherapist and himself decided that he had to put his head in seawater every day to make the wounds heal. So absolutely impressive, and this shows what stamina and resilience my friend Nicky had. So let's move a little bit further to Fangio. On the Nürburgring, actually, my love for motorsport started also. We were in Amsterdam very young, 18 or 19 year olds for a weekend. Don't ask me what we were doing in Amsterdam, but on the way back we decided to stop over on the Nürburgring to follow one of our friends. His name is Philip, in a Formula 3 race. And the minute I entered the paddock and I saw the driver stood on the grid, I mean, it was instant love. I had never any similar feeling. Didn't see any racing cars driving, had no interest in Formula One, and that was unbelievable. And 3 months later, put all the money I had, which wasn't a lot, in leasing into a Seat Ibiza, and started to compete in little touring cars. Juan Manuel Fangio, true iconic racing driver in the 50s. Became world champion with several cars, but most importantly, of course, with Mercedes. And when you look at the videos from back in the day, the driving skill and car control was unbelievable, and he stood out in his generation, held the record with 5 world championships title until long time, until Schumacher beat it and Lewis beat it. And you can probably say these 3 drivers were the absolute top within their generation, and Fangio is somebody I very much look up to as a true icon. Now let's go a bit further. There's some really good guys also on the way down. Bernd Rosemeyer, Guys van Lennep, I think he won the Le Mans 24 Hours. Hans Stuck, who I know very well, great years in DTM. And then Sterling Moss, who unfortunately passed a while ago. I knew Sterling quite well. He was just such a gentleman. He was a true great racing driver of his era, and I'm lucky enough to have met him. Now the Nürburgring always brings back great memories. My wife told me I can't say I love the Nürburgring. I love her and I like the Nürburgring, but I must admit to you that I actually love the Nürburgring. My wife more, obviously, but so much fond memories. There's the Dorint Hotel behind us, and in the first years in our 24-hour racing journeys we couldn't afford to stay there, so we had a little camper van, the 6 of us in the camper van, and we sneaked into the Dorint to shower, yeah, it was just fantastic. Basic racing, it was all down to driving these cars in the night, in the fog, in the rain, and these memories are always with me, and coming back to the Nürburgring is just awesome. There's also another funny or less funny episodes. I love the Nürburgring because I've driven on the Nordschleife several times in Langstreckenpokal, in the 24-hour race, with good results and worse results. And at the end of my career in 2009, I wanted to beat the record on the Nordschleife for GT cars. That wasn't one of my brightest ideas, and actually Nicky said, who's interested in a lap record on Nordschleife? Just forget it, it's just too dangerous. And nevertheless, I was in a bit of a midlife crisis, so I embarked on the mission beat the record on my exploration lap, which was quite surprising. And on the rear lap, which should have been half a minute quicker, I had a puncture in probably one of the worst parts, the Fuchsröhre with the great compression. Had an impact at the 27G. The puncture happened almost at 300k. And unfortunately I had quite some injuries. I had a concussion that made my eye look to the left, wasn't great. I ripped some nerves, couldn't smell and taste for half a year, and had some broken bones in the back. When I came back to Vienna, Nicky said, "You're such an idiot, I told you." So this is something that will always bind us together.